What's up? Quick review on slope. First off, slope defined three different ways. Way one is defined as rise over run. Lots of teachers like to say that. That means a lot of things when you're looking at a graph. The other way it is defined is as delta y over delta x. If you have not seen that before, this delta is a mathematical way to say change in y over change in x. Now, all of this works together and works together this way. If you're talking about a graph and you're talking about how much something rises, how much it goes up and down, what variable controls that? The y-coordinate. That's why whatever this change is, if you're looking at between 2 points, what's the change from here to here? Well, the rise portion is the difference in these y-coordinates. This y-coordinate was at 1, this guy was at 4. That's a rise of 3. That's it. So likewise, that's what change in x is. The run, or the horizontal movement, is how much it moves left to right, or how much your change in x is. Hopefully that makes sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to find slope of several things. Way one, how are you going to find the slope when you're given 2 points? I'm just going to randomly pick some points. Let's take -3, 7, and let's take 5, and we'll go, I don't know, -1. What's my slope here? Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, all right, well, I'm going to find my slope, and you've probably seen this formula, which is awesome to use. It looks like this. Slope equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Which, you're like, why are you saying sub 2 sub 1? This is a subscript number. That's why we say y sub 2, y sub 1. The only reason we have a y labeled as 2 and a y labeled as 1 is because if you're working with 2 points, you have 2 y coordinates. You also have 2 x coordinates, which is why you have a sub 2 and a sub 1. So all you have to do is label one of those coordinates x sub 1, y sub 1, and the other one x sub 2, y sub 2, and play a little plug-a-roo and solve. That's it. Now, what I'd like you to do is understand that what we're really doing here is finding that change in y, or that rise difference. If we find the difference between those y values, that's our rise. If we find the difference between our x values, that's our run. Now, if you want to do it that way, like I can look at y sub 1 and y sub 2 and go, well, if I went from 7 to -1, I went down 8 units. Well, if you don't want to do that, we can plug it in. Just don't forget, this formula has minus in here regardless of what those values are. So my y sub 2 we found out is -1, and there goes my Pandora just starting out of the blue. Sorry it does that, and I don't know why it does that. So y sub 1 is set. If you notice, you realize that's going to give us a change of 8. It went down, that's why it's negative. X sub 2 is 5. I should have used black there, I guess. Minus, don't forget that's always there, and my x sub 1 is -3. So when I look at that, this guy is going to go down. -1 minus 7 gives me -8. And over here, this guy also, 5 minus -3, gives me 8. So it went down 8, I ran 8, which, if I then look at, I can reduce that, don't lose your negative, it is -1 over 1. You can always leave slope in a fraction. I don't care if it's improper or not. Fractions are always great for slope. Now, I'm not going to do more of those. I know you did a bunch of those. I want to explain 2 things, really, actually 3 things. First off, this x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2, this could be 1 minus 2 or 2 minus 1. It doesn't matter, as long as it's consistent top to bottom. It doesn't matter which points labeled the 1s and which points labeled the 2s, as long as one point is all 2s and one point is all 1s. You can switch this up, change these. As long as you're consistent, you're golden. The other thing I do want to mention, if you do a slope and it works out like this, or it works out like this, what does that mean? Well, here's the deal. You cannot divide by 0. If you try to take 3 divided by 0 and you put that into a calculator anywhere, no, ain't going to work. This is undefined. which, if you take that back to what is this, rise over run, this has no run. There's no horizontal movement, which means vertical line. Likewise here, 0 divided by 3. Well, 0 divided by any number other than 0 is just 0. So this guy does indeed equal 0. That means he has no rise. He doesn't go up or down any. What do you got there? Horizontal line. It's that simple, okay? When you're looking at a, guess what? I don't have my meter stick out. When I'm looking at a line that's already graphed, let's put one there, and I'm going to do my best to draw a line. Hopefully that's not terrible. Kind of missed there a little bit. We'll pretend it goes through there. When you're looking at a line and you're finding the slope, you're going to go through a 4-step process. Okay? I'm not going to write those down. I'm going to explain them. Step 1 is you better decide, is the slope of your slope of your line that you have in front here positive? Is it negative? Is it 0, or is it undefined? So when I look at this, I realize that this guy is going up as we go from left to right. That means he has a slope that is positive. That is step 1. That red's about dying, huh? We'll do blue. So that's positive. So that's your step 1. Is it positive, negative, 0, or undefined? Then step 2 is to go ahead and do that slope triangle. Slope triangle is a right triangle from point to point following the grid lines. I can go up and I can go over, or I can go over and I can go up. Doesn't matter. I'm going to wind up with the same thing. So I'm going to do my slope triangle here, and I'm going to count it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Boom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Boom. Step 3, write your slope fraction. Your slope is rise over run, delta y over delta x, change in y over change in x. Well, my y values or my rise was 7. My run value or my x is 6. I have a slope positive 7 or 6. 4th step, always reduce. Can't reduce that. This guy's got a slope up 6. Done. Okay? Now, when it comes to horizontal and vertical lines, you've got to keep in mind the following. If you have this guy, that is a slope of 0. He has no rise. If you have a vertical guy, that is an undefined slope. Kind of things you have to commit to memory unless you always remember slope is rise over run, and you really analyze that when I look at that. I'm looking at this guy and I go, he has no rise. He's got all kinds of run. He's got no rise. That means he's going to be 0 over some number, which I know is 0. So if you understand that concept of slope, you don't have to memorize so many things. Okay? That's your quick review. Hope it helps. See ya.